Hi everyone, Andy and Jenny Fitzgerald here, and today we want to talk about our approach to parenting, which we call non-anxious parenting. Now, for most of our 14 years of parenting, our parenting has been anything but non-anxious. I would call it
Very anxious.
I'm totally stressed out parenting.
I'm going to quit tonight parenting.
I've had it up to here parenting.
I can't do this parenting.
I'm ready to quit parenting. That's what I would call our parenting.
Right.
But we even have a symbol for our non-anxious parenting. Let's go ahead and show it right there, because that's what we want to be like as we parent our kids. Yes. Now the key people in non-anxious parenting are the parents and how we act. Because what happens in a dysfunctional family, and let me talk about a dysfunctional family. What happens in a dysfunctional family is that all the time and attention goes to the least mature or the most immature person in the family unit. And what dysfunctional families do is they spend all their time, all their energy toward the least secure or most immature person in the family structure.
Right.
And so what non-anxious parenting says is that we are going to lead our family through not being anxious as we lead our kids.
We're stressed out.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Because anytime we get stressed out, then that means the behavior of the kids are pulling us down to where they are, rather than us leading our family by example into the mission and the vision and the values that we have as a family. Now, our mission and values as a family are: we want to love God, we want to love each other, love others, and we want to serve one another as well. And so we call everybody in our family to live toward that, and to live toward that in a very non-anxious way. But kids being kids and us being us, there are obviously times where that is tested. So, for example, just the other day, my son Garrett, who's 12 years old, has Down syndrome. He likes to just leave the house. He's 11 years old. I do this all the time. Get my kids' ages wrong. He will be 12 at one point, hopefully.
He will, yep.
But currently he's 11. So anyway, he just bolts out of the house one day and just leaves. And he's not supposed to do that. He knows that.
We've been talking about this for a long time.
Very long time. So anyway, immediately that's an opportunity for me to get anxious and say, Garrett, you know you're not supposed to run out of the house. You know you're supposed to ask for permission before you leave the house. But instead of getting freaked out and wigged out, I'm trying to be this, a non-anxious parent. So that all the energy doesn't go to Garrett, but it goes toward what we want to be as a family. So what happened, at least in this case, is I walked outside and I didn't freak out. I didn't yell, which was really nice, and I gave Garrett a choice. Now, I said, Garrett, we can either skip back into the house or we can spin around and go back into the house. Garrett, which choice would you rather have? And he chose the skip one. So we skipped back into the house. And so rather than
skip?
Well, he kind of skipped. It was
Did
more.
You skip?
No, well, I encouraged his skipping.
Okay.
But so rather than having all the stress and the anger and the controlledness and the freaking out going towards Garrett,
right,
I called him to a higher standard and modeled that through non-anxious parenting. Now, it's non-anxious in two ways. One, it's non-anxious for me because I'm not getting stressed out. And then two, I'm not putting that stress on him and getting into a power struggle with him, and so that he can do the thing that we ask.
Right.
Yeah. Do you have any examples of non-anxious parenting?
I have lots of examples of anxious parenting. And I will say this, one of the turning points for me was when I think it was Jake said, I would never want to be a parent. And I said, why would you never want to be a parent? Like, how sad? And he said, because it stresses you guys out. It looks awful. And I thought, oh,
right.
I don't think we're doing something right here. It just so happens that my most recent example of non-anxious parenting was also around Garrett.
Okay, no surprise.
So we were in Reading. We took a lovely 4-hour trip to Reading. We're there for 3 hours, and then we took another lovely 4-hour trip back home
to San
over
Jose.
vacation. And at one point, I had Garrett and Dawson and Carly at a park. And when we got into the park, they were all playing nicely. I was kind of sitting. I wasn't even sitting. I was standing. And I look over, and Garrett had found a huge mud puddle. And before I could get there, he jumped in the whole puddle, like the whole
Everything.
puddle. So from his head to his shoes, he had mud everywhere.
And we're 4 hours away from our home.
Right.
On this 8-hour road trip.
Right. And Garrett does love mud. You know, and so I feel all the people at the park looking at me, and Carly stops and goes, and she was waiting to see what I was going to do. And I thought to myself, if Andy were here, he'd say, "Are we do this?"
Non-anxious.
And so I said, "Oh, you chose to jump in the puddle. Okay." And then I just stood back and I thought about how I was going to respond. And Garrett did get a discipline, but I wasn't anxious. I wasn't stressed out. I was calm. Yeah. And so it didn't ruin my day. Garrett was muddy and uncomfortable, but it didn't ruin my day. I didn't take it out on Carly or Dawson. Really, Garrett. I didn't take it out on Garrett. So it was a good ending.
Yes. And again, the whole idea of non-anxious parenting is that the behavior of your children can bring everybody down. Not just you as parents, but the entire family.
Right.
And so what you want to avoid is the least mature, the most insecure person of your household to have all the emotional and all the emotional and behavioral pull of your family.
Right.
But you as the parents are the key in all this, because you will rise not only yourself up, but your kids up as you don't react, as you become non-anxious, and then you call them to what you value as a family. And that's very key, to have articulated what you stand for as a family. What is your goal as a family? And to really preach that in a sense. And again, for us to love God, love one another, and to serve one another. And so anytime our behavior falls short of that, we're going to non-anxiously call people to something, to who we are as a family.
And we also have values that we say. Fitzgeralds are hardworking, they're generous, and they're kind. Yeah. And so I'm constantly telling my kids, Fitzgeralds are hardworking, Fitzgeralds are kind. And so it is nice to have something that we're reminding them of, regularly.
Yeah. So it's a call for leadership. So hopefully this has been encouragement to you. Continue your non-anxious parenting. Yes. And let us know how it goes, and we'll see you next time.